Explore the vibrant arts and culture landscape of Michigan, a state with a thriving creative ecosystem that has birthed iconic movements like Motown and the Purple Rose Theater. Home to legendary musicians, writers, and artists, Michigan boasts a rich tapestry of cultural heritage known worldwide. Michigan Creates is a podcast series that will connect listeners with gifted artists and cultural institutions that are nurturing Michigan's vibrant creative landscape. Welcome to Michigan Creates. I'm your host, Ara Topouzian, and on today's episode, I have a conversation with the artistic and executive director of the Kerrytown Concert House, Monica Swartout-Bebow. Located in Ann Arbor, Michigan, this concert house has a remarkable historical background, and they bring live performances in an up-close and personal way that's unique in Michigan. So stay tuned and join me while I talk to Monica. Monica, thanks for being on Michigan Creates today. I'm looking forward to our conversation because certainly I've got a bit of a back history with the Kerrytown Concert House. So I'm excited that we're going to talk and share that with all our listeners. So thanks for talking to me today.
I'm absolutely delighted to be invited. And yes, you do have. You're an important part of Kerrytown Concert House's artistic footprint.
Thank you. I wouldn't say important, but I've had the privilege of performing there, and we'll probably touch on that too as we're talking. Before we talk about the concert house, give our listeners, our viewers, a bit of a background on you, Monica. How did you come to get to Ann Arbor, Michigan for
wow. Okay, well, I got to Ann Arbor because I came here to do my graduate work in voice performance at the University of Michigan, which I did. And my husband, who was a journalist at the time, got hired to work for the Ann Arbor News. And we ended up staying here because we just love the community so much. Not long after I got my degree from the University of Michigan, I think Deanna Rallier, the founder of Kerrytown Concert House, heard me sing and started inviting me to join some performances that involved many artists. And within a couple years, she called and said, I want you to have your recital debut. She said, Ann Arbor needs to hear you. And it was really lovely. That was the beginning of a beautiful friendship that I had not only with Deanna Rallier, but also with the Kerrytown Concert House. It, for 25 years, was a very important part of my artistic journey, a place I performed regularly, a place that I taught. I rented studio space upstairs and taught many students up here. And I really have a very personal artistic connection to the place long before I ever considered becoming its director.
That's terrific. Well, as you're talking, I can hear you have a beautiful voice. What kind of music is your passion?
That's one of my favorite questions because if you mention different genres, I would probably just keep saying yes. I've always had very eclectic tastes in music. Growing up, my parents had season tickets to the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, but listened to Willie Nelson on their 8-track and Louis Armstrong jazz. I really was exposed to many styles of music. And when I did my undergrad work at Western Michigan University, I had the privilege of not only studying classically, but also singing in their internationally renowned vocal jazz group, Gold Company. So I came to Ann Arbor with a pretty diverse background of musical experiences and really wanted to focus on one genre. So at U of M, I was focusing on opera and classical singing. I wanted to see how that would go. And what was really kind of beautiful, and that was wonderful. But after I graduated, Deanna Rallier, again, the founder of Kerrytown Concert House, said, well, I hear you sing other things. And so a jazz artist would be coming who needed a singer, and she'd invite me to come perform with them. Or, she'd had me singing on Edge Fest and even for the Nash Bash, some country music. But I would say that what I do most of these days is kind of a mixture of classical performance and cabaret performance, which kind
Okay.
of includes all kinds of genres.
That's
I guess I
great.
just don't like to limit myself.
Geez,
And
we
that
should have.
actually really suits me in this position.
Yeah.
Uh, as you know, one of my jobs as artistic and executive director is to be the artistic programmer. And so I kind of feel like when I program a whole season, I look at it as a variety show,
Mm.
and wanting to make sure that I have good flow of genres or, variety of genres and good pacing and flow of maybe emotional context or, it's pretty interesting how my own artistry
Yeah.
does become an asset in terms of
Yeah.
programming.
Well,
Mhm.
it is. It's quite important, and I really didn't put two and two together. Boy, we should have just done a program about you and your singing
Oh,
abilities. We may have to do that one of these days, but
well,
that
that would
is
be wonderful. Mhm.
that is wonderful though to hear about that passion, and it totally makes sense on how it plays into the everyday role of running the concert house. So let's talk about Kerrytown Concert House. I mean,
Yes,
I've had the privilege, the honor of performing there a number of times. It is a beautiful venue. It was one that I really, until I was asked to come, I had no idea that it was there. It really is a gem
it
in
is.
Ann Arbor, Michigan. So can you talk about maybe the history, talk about what the house is, and maybe
So
some of the history?
sure. The house is nestled in the Kerrytown district of Ann Arbor, which was originally a working class Irish district.
Mm,
It eventually became the African American working class district. It's been through many variations over the years, and this house is an old Victorian painted lady that was built circa 1865.
okay.
Um, which is kind of crazy to think
Yeah.
about. Um, and in 1984, a developer in town, Carl Brower, had purchased the house and was going to turn it into an office building.
Mm,
And around the same time, founder Deanna Relier was looking into creating a platform
mm,
that was an alternative performance venue to area churches and the University of Michigan. She recognized a need for something outside of the university, especially
right.
because so many amazing artists come through Ann Arbor, so many amazing artists live in Ann Arbor that there was a need for a space. And at the time that she created the concert house idea, the intent was mostly for classical music.
Hmm.
And then over the years, it opened its arms to all kinds of genres. So that started in 1984,
Yeah.
and they rented the place for a while. In 1988, our beloved Hamburg Steinway made its way across the Atlantic from London. It had originally been in the home of an affluent woman, London society woman, who wanted a different piano with a shinier finish.
Okay.
So we benefited from that. Um, the Hamburg Steinway on our stage is cherished by artists all over the world, and that is not an exaggeration. People love this piano, and so that was 4 years in to the
Yeah.
concert house being a concert house. It's very unique in that attending a concert at the Kerrytown Concert House is very much like attending a concert in your own living room.
Hmm.
The performance space is unique in that it's L-shaped.
Right.
So where maybe once there was a living room and maybe where there might have been a kitchen or some separate bedroom, the L is open now and the stage is in the crux of the L.
Hmm.
So it's unique for performers in that you have to get comfortable with relating to audiences that are on
Yeah.
two sides of the room that can't necessarily see each other.
Yeah.
But what's beautiful about it is the intimacy. Um, because attending a concert is very much like attending a concert in your own living room, you have opportunities to experience world-class artistry mere steps away from you. And that is really what sets us apart in an area where there are many amazing artistic things happening. It's the experience of the intimacy of a concert here that truly makes us unique and distinctive.
Well, I can identify with that, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. You are really you're one with the audience. It sounds
Mhm.
corny to say, but it's really true. It's really one of the reasons why I love performing there, because you can have that interaction with the audience, and you can bring them into your performance. So I do love the way it's set up. Now, I do have a question going back though to the piano. How did you
Sure.
get it in to the house? Because there, again, I've seen the piano, I've seen the stage, I've also seen the door.
Yeah. Well, they would have had to take the legs off and turn it on its side.
Ah,
In
okay.
fact, they did. Deanna, who again is a good friend of mine, she still has the box the piano came in. It's
Oh,
in
that's
her
funny.
garage. Someday we'll find a way to have it here in the house. But yeah, they turned it on its side, they removed the legs.
Okay,
Um, and it's a big instrument for our tiny space.
right.
But the beautiful thing about that instrument and the feedback that I get from pianists is that it is so responsive that you can play the softest soft and every note will sound. So it's really something that we care for and are very protective of.
Yeah, rightly so. So, Monica, let's talk about the different types of artists and genres that have performed at the house.
Well, we have at least my approach, which certainly was inspired by the approach that has taken place, long before
Yeah.
my beginning here. There's sort of a core amount of offerings in chamber music,
Mm.
classical, jazz, and cabaret.
Okay.
So, but I would say the bulk of our offerings are chamber music and jazz, uh, maybe 55%. But beyond that, we have world music, as you know, that we
Yeah.
we love to present. We have edge or avant jazz or experimental music, which we
Mhm.
do a festival for that we're known for internationally. Um, every year we do a 4-day festival for that music. Um, Cabaret is this is a great place for cabaret, and we have a running cabaret series, Wine, Women, and Song, that has actually
Mm.
become our biggest concert fundraiser each year.
Okay.
And it's usually a 5 performance series of the same show that sells out 5 days in a row. But we also, I mean, working on invigorating, having more cabaret artists coming in. Um, I think my favorite genre grouping that we call kaleidoscope. It's
Mm.
those concerts and those artists that incorporate more than one genre, either
Mm.
in the concert or in the music that they create. And so that's probably one of my favorite things to book because I love to find things that are, let's say it's a jazz group, but maybe with a jazz violinist. In fact, we just had Third Coast Swing come, which tends to be more hot club jazz and use
Right.
instruments that maybe aren't heard as often here in this country in jazz performances. And so Grant Flick, the violinist, was here with Third Coast Swing this past weekend, and it was wonderful. It was just outstanding. So I'm always looking for unique things like that I think are really interesting. Another thing that I've been experimenting with, and again, it's the tradition, trying things, trying things
Yeah.
out. Singer-songwriter series. We were really fortunate last season to have May Earlywine come, who is a very popular touring singer-songwriter artist who's from Michigan.
Mhm.
Um, we're working on invigorating that. Love to have amazing pianists come and perform on our piano, but we also have touring artists who love Kerrytown Concert House so much that they'll just call me and say, "Hey, I'm going to be in the area. I'd really love to come and perform at Kerrytown. And oftentimes they understand we're a small, modest nonprofit. So they try to make it work. Well, I have a bunch of other gigs, so let me just slip up to Ann Arbor real
Right.
quick and you can pay me this,
Yeah.
and it's because they love the place so much and they love the audiences. So recently we had Tamir Hendelman and Tierney Sutton, two internationally recognized jazz artists, perform at Kerrytown Concert House. And it was just so cool. And it's always so
Yeah.
wonderful to be able to give those opportunities to people, we or to our audiences. Danilo Brito from Brazil,
Yeah.
it's really,
You've got a great variety
we
that
do.
I mean, there's you don't do the same thing twice, really.
Try
You have,
try not
yeah,
to. Try not, I
yeah,
mean, unless they're things that the audience loves. So we do have some series that, for instance, Wine, Women, and Song Cabaret series that we do
right.
each year. We also have jazz pianist Ellen Rose All About the Trio, which she does 3 or 4 performances of different themes throughout the season because it's very much loved in Ann Arbor. And it's kind of a tutorial on jazz. So she gets
Hmm.
these wonderful players to come and play with her, and they'll have a theme. For instance, her next one coming up is about Jerome Kern. And all of the artists, they're going to talk about what they love about Jerome Kern. They have arrangements, their own arrangements of Jerome Kern songs, and they take the audience through their process, and the audience just loves it. But again, that happens easily here because of the intimacy of the space.
Right, right. How about you were doing outdoor concerts? Do you want to
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit too?
Well, I don't think we're done with that. We did take
Good.
a break this summer, but of course that happened because of the
Yes.
pandemic. It
I've
was,
heard of that. I've heard of the pandemic. I don't know what.
so we had been live streaming and
Yeah,
things were starting to open up. But people weren't really ready to come back inside yet, and we weren't really ready to have them back inside yet. But the summer came and we thought, well, we have a parking lot behind us.
yeah.
Maybe we can do some concerts in the backyard. So we literally would bring out chairs from inside the concert house. We would haul the 40, 50 chairs out to the back parking lot, set up everything. We had little canopy tents we'd set up, and we'd get the artists set up. And of course, it didn't really lend itself for classical music. It was mostly jazz artists
Sure.
or, some of those kaleidoscope groups. Um, and it was just a great way to come back after a very difficult time.
Yeah.
And it was really, really fun. And if we can figure out a way that we maybe don't have to haul out 50 chairs each
Yeah.
time and bring them back in at the end of the
Yeah.
night, um, we're probably going to revisit that.
So another component of, I think, the pandemic is, and you just kind of touch on it real quick, but I want to make sure we talk about it because I think this is a bit unique and really nice, is the live streaming, the recording. I mean,
Yeah,
you don't just throw a camera up there. You've got multiple cameras, folks can watch online. You're still doing that. So maybe talk a
yeah,
bit about that because I think that's a very unique and special aspect to
it
the concert
is.
house.
It is. I mean, everybody was trying to live stream
Right.
but we did pivot within a week
Yeah.
of the shutdown. And it was a pretty significant pivot because Kerrytown Concert House was primarily an acoustic space. So
Right.
we did not have any of this equipment. Um, but I just couldn't conceive of doing nothing. That seemed unacceptable to me. And artists needed work. I mean, artists were hit horribly during that time, and audiences needed music. They needed joy.
Yeah.
And so I have an amazing board, and I just said, we need to do this, and we need to invest a lot of money in new equipment that we don't know how to use. So we need to invest in people teaching us how to do it.
Right.
And, and what what was advantageous about this, and of course we didn't know at the time, is right before the pandemic hit, we had kicked off a strategic planning process. Organizations do this every 5 years or so, and it was time to do it again. And streaming actually was part of our strategic plan before anyone knew the pandemic was going to happen, but it was way on the bottom of priorities.
Right.
Okay. So the great thing was, because it had been discussed, when I said we have to do this, our leader, our board member, Greg Bellino, who does this, for companies all over the world, said, okay, we're going to flip the strategic plan on its head, and we're going to do the
Yeah.
thing that was going to be the last thing we do. We're going to do it now.
Yeah.
And so the generosity of board members stepped up to help us pay for it. We did receive disaster relief funding that also helped us pay for it. We received some grants. And the community stepped up. The community responded to our live streams with such enthusiasm and just wanted to support the artists, And so all of that was amazing. And so now here we are. We've continued to live stream because we love that it's a layer that we have that provides access to the arts to some folks who just can't get here,
Right.
or to folks who maybe are still afraid to be out and about, or who
Sure.
can't because it's not safe for them. We also have a relationship with the oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of it, but the Michigan Medicine Gift of Arts program. Yeah. So they use some of our streams, with artist permissions, and they play them at the hospital, in hospital rooms. So it's sort of created this ability for us to reach people in a really beautiful way. Artists know what's happening. It's in all of our contracts. We never. These days, we used to leave the streams up, but now we don't do that. These days, we take them down. You have to catch the stream in real time if you want to see. We take them down immediately. We don't use any part of it without the artist's permission. But it's so far, it's been something that artists are still willing to let us do. And
it's good quality. It's really good. It's definitely good quality.
Yeah.
Monica, when you talk about the staff a little bit and the board and whatnot, and let's touch on that, because you've got a team, and again, I've experienced the greatness of this team a bit, but maybe discuss about what does that team look like, and what are they doing at the house, and give a little spotlight, maybe a little shout out to all of them.
Oh, absolutely. So it's actually an artist-led organization, because each so we have 3 full-time people. We do have some extra folks helping us, and I'll outline all of that. But the full-time members, aside from me, are Abby Dotz, who is our operations and events manager. She deals with all ticketing things. Well, I call her our Swiss Army knife, because she does many, many things, but she is the face of the house at every single concert event or rental.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Emily Olson, who is our development manager. This is the first time we have ever had a full-time fundraising development person. Abby has a background in theater. Emily is a professional flautist. So she plays for orchestras all over the state. So it's really wonderful to have artist-led venue, business venue, because we really, Pete Sears, who's a jazz drummer, his wife is on the board, but one time he said to me, Monica, you speak our language. Yeah. And I think that is really helpful, that all of us we get it.
You get it.
And yeah. So I think, artists, to make a living as an artist, you kind of need to be a Renaissance person. You're going to have to have your hands in a lot of different projects, to make a living. Right. And so I think that happens here. We're all people who have made it work in our professional lives before we came here, as artists, teachers, whatever, creatives of lots of different areas. And we get to employ all of those skills in here, a business sense, artistic sense, innovation, creation, brainstorming. These are all things that we get to do in this job.
Right.
It's a lot,
Yeah.
but we all have those sea
But the
legs.
passion
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
passion shows. So we could talk for a long time because there's so many other things I'd love to talk about the house, but let's talk about the house for a few minutes. What's next for the home? As you said, it's well over 100 years
Yeah.
old.
Yes.
And is it in need of repair? Is it need any renovation? That, I have experience walking up and down the steps, and I'm not a tiny guy. It does squeak a little bit. I do like that. It's I get a warm feeling with that, but I'm sure you probably get tired of hearing the squeaks. What's next for the house itself?
Well, we like to joke that she's our favorite painted lady who's in need of a little bit of a makeover.
Okay.
So, like any home, every so often you gotta fix stuff. And so yeah, we have some pretty major things that we're looking at that need to be done. She needs a new paint job. She probably needs a new roof, and she definitely needs new windows.
Yeah.
None of those things are small ticket items. Um, so we are in the process of discussing, while we're gonna do those things, maybe does it make sense to consider some improvements or renovations inside as well? We're very protective of, again, the experience of Kerrytown Concert House,
Hmm.
that intimacy, um, but are there ways that we could shore up about it inside what we love and maybe fix the awkward bits? We're kind of exploring some of those discussions, while we're also extremely busy. We've got 90 concerts we're presenting this season. And but we're having these discussions because all of us, board, staff members, we want to make sure that Kerrytown Concert House remains vibrant well beyond our tenure here, and we're about to celebrate our 40th year for another 40 years. So part of that is just making sure there's longevity, both structurally and organizationally. So it's an exciting time, of
Yeah,
possibilities.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, that's probably a good spot to stop, believe it or not.
Okay,
But we want folks to experience the concert house. They can go online to carrytownconcerthouse.com, right?
right,
And they
that's
can
right.
check out the schedule. And certainly, we talked a little bit about fundraising, kind of in an indirect way, but that's awfully important
It
for
is.
a nonprofit. And you've got some wonderful annual reports, and the patrons are very giving. They're very supportive. I'll leave you with this little story of one of the times that I performed there. And as I was loading in, there was an older couple that was coming in down the street, and they're like, "We don't miss a performance. We're
Oh,
we're we're always here." And then they actually had seen me perform there before, but they absolutely, you thought that they were going home. So the house is definitely a warm place, and we hope everybody checks it out. So Monica, thank you for talking to me today.
I'm so honored that you asked me, and I can't wait to have you back in the house for a concert.
I can't wait to come. Thank you.
Let's make it work.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Michigan Creates. We hope you've had fun diving into the creativity of our state. From Motown melodies to artisanal wonders, Michigan never fails to dazzle. But hey, the creativity doesn't stop here. Connect with us online, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss new episodes. Help us spread the word and also share your own artistic stories. So until next time, I'm Ara Topouzian, and I want you to keep those musical instruments in tune, keep those paintbrushes moving, and keep those cameras rolling. Remember, in Michigan, the only limit is your imagination. Stay creative.